Hi everyone, this is Legacy School Year 7 History, our Lesson 21, Introduction to Islam and the Arab World. Our objectives will be today to learn about the beginnings of Islam, won't be anything new, and the spread of Islam during the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad. We will learn how the Caliphate started, who were the first four caliphs. We will understand how the split within Islam started. We will learn how Islam spread during the first few 100 years, and we will understand how the Christian world was divided. So let's take a look at the beginnings of Islam. You can see the map. This is the Arabian Peninsula, or the Arab Peninsula, where the Prophet Muhammad was born in 570. It was a trading post. Mecca was a trading post at that time in an area called Hijaz in Arabia, of course. We know this from our previous studies. He received his revelations around the year 620 through the angel Gabriel. The number of his followers in the beginning, was not high. He had a few followers, but they also experienced quite a lot of hostility from the Meccans. They did not like them in Mecca because Muhammad was teaching that there is only one God, and Meccans at that time worshipped many gods. Now he and his followers migrated to Medina. We know this as the Hijrah, 622. And after that, throughout his teaching, of course, the numbers of his followers steadily grew. And in 629, he came back, and he seized the city of Mecca without too much fighting. By the time of his death in 632, the whole Arab Peninsula had converted to Islam. You can see on the map, you can stop, you can pause the video, you can enlarge it, and you can see basically the tribes and the families, how they were how they spread around the Arab Peninsula. Now let's take a look at the expansion of Islam. There's another map over here. Now the green arrows show you the expansion under the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad between 622 and 632, and the black arrows show you how the first caliphs coming after the death of the Prophet Muhammad continued the expansion of Islam. And after his death, the most suitable leader was chosen to be the caliph. Muhammad, of course, did not have a son. The first four caliphs were the so-called Rashidun caliphs. They were Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. Please remember the names. The caliphate, and this is the definition, I would like you to write it down and remember it. It may come very easily in your next assessment. So the caliphate is an Islamic state under the leadership of the caliph, who is a political and religious successor of the Prophet and the leader of the Islamic community that we know in Arabic as Ummah. And this title was not hereditary, so it did not pass to the son of a caliph. So the caliph is the person and the caliphate is the state. Now let's take a look at the first 120 years, which are probably the most important and most wonderful years in the history of Islam. You can see on this picture a beautiful masjid, a beautiful mosque in Damascus. This is the Masjid al-Umawi, which I had the honor to visit many times while I was in Syria. It's a beautiful masjid in the middle of Damascus. As we already mentioned, the Rashidun caliphs right after the Prophet Muhammad between 632 up to 661. Now, of course, we need to remember that Islam was growing, expanded, the country was growing, and the first few caliphs managed to keep this central control over the caliphate. But fortunately and unfortunately at the same time, as the country was growing, it became more and more difficult to keep this central control over the caliphate, and a split of Islam happened. which started with the assassination of Ali in the Mosque of Kufa in Iraq. Kufa is a city in Iraq, south of Baghdad. Now, the followers of Ali, the Caliph Ali, wanted the Ummah to have a leader that comes directly from the Prophet's family. Now, Ali, although Ali himself was not the son, but he was the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, Ali was married to Fatima, the youngest daughter of Muhammad. So the followers of Ali are known as the Shia, and this is the split that occurred in 661. The followers of Ali separated from the so-called Sunni Muslims, who continue to believe that the Ummah needs to be led by the most skillful, the best leader, not necessarily a family member of the Prophet. Then after the assassination of Ali, the Sunni Umayyad Caliphate, Al-Umayyin, took the leadership, and you can see this beautiful picture. This is Damascus. Damascus is one of the oldest capitals in the whole world, if not the oldest. So the center of the Umayyad Caliphate was Damascus. And they took power until 750. They also continued the expansion of Islam. As you can see, the brown area was taken under the leadership of Muhammad. The orange peach color was the expansion during the Rashidun until 661, and after the assassination of Ali, the so-called Umayyad Caliphate took over, also a Sunni Caliphate, until 750. And you can see from the yellow colors that Islam starts spreading on 3 continents now, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Let's take a look at these countries. Now, Portugal, Spain, what is now Portugal and Spain, and the small part of southern France was occupied by Islam or Muslim forces. In Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, and in Egypt. And in Asia, Syria, Jordan, Palestine, Iraq, part of Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and parts of Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan were already under Muslim leadership by 750. Now, let's see the Abbasids from 750. This is another very powerful dynasty to the 13th century or caliphate. In 750, the Umayyads were replaced by the Abbasids, who founded a new city, Baghdad, to be their capital. You can see the map of Iraq. This is modern Iraq, of course. You can see the countries around them, and you can see Baghdad in the middle. It's a very ancient capital as well. They were also Sunni, but at the same time, during their time, as the Shia were already going strong, a very powerful Shia dynasty was established in Egypt. They were called the so-called Fatimids. Of course, the name comes from Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. They defeated the Umayyads in Egypt, and the last representative fled to Spain, establishing the independent Islamic territory called Al-Andalus in Spain, and the south of Spain until now is called Andalusia. The Abbasid Caliphate included a lot of non-Arab nations, especially Persians, which is Persia is present-day Iran. Now, the golden age of Islam, of course, was the time of the Abbasid Caliphs, or Al-Abbasiyin, as we know them in Arabic. Baghdad became the center of culture and science and art. The House of Wisdom was established or created by the Caliph Al-Ma'mun. And here in this House of Wisdom, Muslim scholars translated the classical Greek and Latin texts to keep them, to preserve them for the future, for future generations. The House of Wisdom was the center for the study of mathematics, astronomy, the science of the stars, chemistry and planets, let's say, chemistry and philosophy. And not only it was the golden age of all the sciences, but it was a peaceful and a time of tolerance, as Islamic rulers were generally very, very tolerant with other religions. Christians and Jews could practice their beliefs if they paid taxes. And you can see this a map of the area, Africa, showing Africa, Asia, and Europe. You can see the Muslims are all around now. The pink and the darker Bordeaux, reddish color. This is all occupied by the Muslims. Let's focus on the green area over here, which was which belonged to the Eastern Roman Empire, with the capital Constantinople, which is now modern-day Istanbul. Now, of course, let's understand that the Byzantine Empire, this green spot is called the Byzantine, or in the American pronunciation, you'll be able to hear it as Byzantine Empire. Let's learn a little bit about the Byzantium. The Roman Empire, of course, broke earlier. It was a huge empire in Europe and Asia. The Roman Empire broke into two parts earlier, and the Western Roman Empire collapsed after the sack of Rome in 410 by the Visigoths, who were a Germanic tribe. Now, the Eastern Roman Empire, on the other hand, continued for another 1,000 years. Okay, and this Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, the capital was Constantinople. These people who lived in the Byzantine Empire belonged to the so-called Eastern Orthodox Church, and they did not recognize the authority of the Pope. And there are small divisions between them, and small differences between the Roman Catholic and the Orthodox Church. I would like to ask you to read pages 54 to 55 and answer questions on page 55, please, into your copybooks. Thank you.